Author's Press.
Hey, it's Benji Cole, son of Al Cole from CBS Radio and host of People of Distinction, the talk that gives an in-depth view of some of the most dynamic, intelligent, and successful people on the planet. And on the line with us today, we have Elvis Newman. We're going to be discussing his amazing book, U.S.A. is still the world's number one. If you want to gather everything that Elvis has in store, well, do yourself a favor and head directly to his personal site. And that's elvisnewman.com. There you'll find more information on Elvis himself, more information on this fantastic narrative, as well as keep yourself up to date with all of the things that he has in store. So one more time, that's elvisnewman.com. Elvis was brought to our network, People of Distinction, today by some of the best publishers in the business, Authors Press. So if you or anybody you know have a book that they'd like moved, well, give yourself the best gift you could possibly give. Contact Authors Press and have them move it for you. And you can find out more information on them and their wonderful team at authorspress.com. Sit back, strap in, and have your notebooks ready, because Elvis is about to take us back to the classroom, okay? Elvis, first and foremost, man, welcome to People of Distinction, and thank you very much for being a guest. How are you doing today?
Oh, great. I'm doing great, and it's my honor and pleasure to be on your show.
The pleasure is all ours. We're absolutely looking forward to this, and I think what you're embarking upon here is something really profound, because again, we know, or the majority of us know, through conversations, through research of our own doing, or through someone else's, there has definitely been some slippage, okay? We're born and raised here in the United States, and let me not give my age away. And it almost seems like I've been here for an eternity now by this point. But I remember growing up, and things have definitely shifted to where we are today. And there are a lot of reasons for that. So we can go down that rabbit hole in a bit. But I love what you're doing here, man. And it's truly a pleasure to have you on the network to discuss it. Elvis, I know we have a lot of information to discuss pertaining to your book, but I don't want to get into it just yet. First and foremost, start off by telling our listening audience a little bit more about yourself and your background, please.
I'm a speaker, author, and event organizer. I have worked with many futurist gurus as their researcher and ghostwriter. I have also partaken in many business agencies in analyzing the trends, social, economic, political, technological. So I am endowed with knowledge to help the readers or people surrounding me with a simple picture, simple words, simple phrases of the big picture, of the big things that are coming. So people can benefit. You know, if they don't have time to do all those elaborate study and research, I can help them simplify it. What I basically do is I research those brilliant thinkers from history and the gurus from today, and then I get their ideas and I condense them into simple concepts, and I regurgitate that in simple sentences for the layman so that they can benefit without having to spend so much time researching.
You know, Elvis, I'm going to hold off on my next question, right? Because we don't want to give it all away just yet. Follow-up question to that, let's talk about inspiration for a second. Now, this very well, through your background of being a researcher, right, and being connected to so many different groups, I can see why something of this magnitude would have been important and interesting for you. Now, Elvis, let's call a spade a spade. I mean, this information very easily could have stayed on your personal shelf, or could have been something that you verbally told those around you, but you didn't end there. Talk to us about what inspired you. Why did you feel compelled to put this book out for the public?
I feel compelled to put this book out for the public because I think that's the only way people can realize what is happening to them. People have their such important junctures before in our history, but this time when the door is opened, you'll be unlike any other that's happened in the history of mankind. Okay, the most important event for you, for any person, is when you are born. You're open to a door, a new world, when you were born, right? For humanity, the door has been opened when we study the flight dynamics so people can fly in the skies. Because for millennia, people cannot fly in the skies. And when we develop the ultimate weapon, because people always have tried to devise deadly weapons to conquer other people, but when the ultimate weapon, that's the atomic bomb, was invented, most of the world is in peace, except very minor regional conflicts. Most of the national boundaries are solidified, so there's not too much chaotic World War III, IV, World War V, pledging everybody. And the world is much better because we have the genomic project. The Human Genome Project was established in 2003, and people in history throughout history has been trying to, manipulate the crops, animals to give us better yield, better food, better milk, everything. But now with genetic engineering, we can change Mother Nature. We can even say, Mother Nature, when Mother Nature pronounced Dolly the sheep death, we can take it back. So we go against Mother Nature because of genetic engineering. So the doors we have opened, is immense. But this time, there's another door that we're going to open, and it will be unlike any other that's happened in the history of mankind. So I must spell my message out in the book and let everybody know.
Elvis, next question I want to get into. I want to talk about your title as well as your book cover. Okay. Now, first and foremost, the title seems very straightforward. U.S.A. is still the world's #1. And we understand that, and especially given the description that you've given already, we can see the connection that title has to the book. Now, your book cover is very interesting to me, okay, because we're talking about USA, and we're seeing a picture of Earth, which potentially could be above the United States. I guess it looks like the shape of the United States. But then there's a lot of other words in addition to your title that are there to really help bring the reader in. Talk to our listening audience about that title and about that book cover and why you chose each of those to be the representation for your book.
First of all, the main title, USA is still the world's #1. That's something that many people talk about, and it's a much search, in Google and Yahoo and all those search engines. So mostly people still think USA is still the world's #1, but people have doubts whether it will be in the next decade or two. And but there are people who already say USA is not the world's #1 right now. Or, in fact, in some industries or certain sectors, the USA is not the world's #1. The USA is generally overall the world's #1, but not in certain areas, definitely. But it's because it's the main topic of discussion. So I choose it as the main topic. But actually, I have many subtopics, subtitles. For example, I talk about disruptive technologies of the United States. That's the first line, disruptive technologies of the United States. And I call USA not just the world's #1, I call it the superpower extraordinaire. Okay, and I will have defined that in my book. And I will talk about what is disruptive technology. People talk about disruptive creationism, disruptive construction, disruptive invention. So we have disruptive technologies, which is against conventional, which I mentioned in the book, but which is very good for the USA. And I explain why the USA has become the superpower extraordinaire, not just the superpower, and why is the difference between the superpower and the ordinary power, and what is the superpower supreme or the superpower extraordinaire. Also, each of these subtitles can be a topic in itself. So I have a line that says, a better tomorrow is not enough. Yes, because we always say a better tomorrow. Let's wish tomorrow will be better. Why don't we say, let's wish for a best tomorrow? Whoever first starts saying that, wish you a best tomorrow, I mean, why is that not to be? Why can't we choose that? If we do something and make sure it comes, we should choose our best future, right? Not better future, best future, the one that we want. Okay, since already we are playing a little god in genetic engineering, we are soaring like the birds, which is against gravity, and against what the millennia of humanity has been doing. And, we have the ultimate weapon, which can destroy planets, which has the burning power of 1,000 suns. So we might be able to, if we just work conscientiously towards the whole humanity together, one-hearted, we can maybe get the best tomorrow for all of humanity. And I have this something interesting. Icarus, the pair of wings. If you know Icarus, he tried to invent, wings to help humanity fly.
Absolutely.
But he was not successful. First time and second time, he failed. In throughout thousands of man's history, people have been dreaming of flying like the birds, and like the eagles. They look at the sky and they were sighing in despair. When can I ever fly? They can never do that. But actually, if they had known the principle of aerodynamics, gravity, and thrust, which we take for granted nowadays, it's easy for them to fly. But for thousands of years they could never, and they think it's never possible. But so we can. But now we know about thrust, gravity, and aerodynamics. Do we have a next phase? Can we go into the next phase? Yes, we can. Not just that. So there's a third pair of wings we can do. Icarus, the pair of wings. Well, if you want to know what that is, read my book. And then the next one is Omega, ultimate weapon. Well, when you say weapon, you say something that's deadly, right? You want to conquer people with your weapon. When you have the ultimate weapon, then you have the superiority over your enemies, because you master the ultimate weapon, which would annihilate your enemies effortlessly. But there were also several ultimate weapons. The one last thing is the Omega ultimate weapon. That will be the ultimate weapon of all ultimate weapons. And we are going to have that. In case there were evil forces that try to destroy us or destroy what we have achieved so far, the whole of humanity, And for man becoming God, well, we don't consciously try to do that, but we have already tried, because of our cumulative effort, try to do a genetic engineering, manipulate crops. Just like I told you before, like we bring the dolly back to life by cloning. Well, that's playing a little God, right there, because Mother Nature has declared death for the ship dolly, and now we bring it back to life, right? So we are passing sentences on whether the ship can still stay alive, okay? And we have, throughout the ages, we have manipulated the cows that give us milk, which variety give us the most milk, and weeded out those barley, wheat, and rice that doesn't produce high yields. But with genetic engineering, we can even put insecticide resistance or insect resistant genes into the crops, and they can grow. So we are already training Mother Nature, and we have come so far that we have to take more responsibility. We're not just living in the biosystem, ecosystem. We already manipulated the system to our liking. Whether we want or not, we are playing a little God, a lesser God. So we have already become, in certain ways, in a small way, I wouldn't say a big way. We still have to respect Mother Nature, but we are already coming beyond that age, where we are confined by our system on the constraints, where flood, tidal waves, volcano eruption would annihilate the whole community or society. We are beyond that. We now go back and we can manipulate nature. So, but we have to be careful about that. So, I'm looking at what we have done so far, and you need to have reflections on what you have done so far before you set out your path towards the next few hundred years. You have to be clear what have you done, what is good for you, what is bad for you, and we're going to pick up the good ones, and we're going to carry that further, and we go down the road that way. Because a lot of people, when they are busy, they don't look at what they have done, they don't look at what they're going to do. They're just busy, busy, and then they're just busy all day long, and they don't know, they just go along with the tide. So we shouldn't get carried away by the tide and currents of time. Okay, so we need to look back 300 years and then look forth 300 years and see what we should be going and position ourselves. It's the right niche for us to position right now. Just like when Christopher Columbus, he set sail for America, and when his vessels arrived in America, the native Indians couldn't see the vessels or the ships. All they could see was big tidal waves and storms out of a peaceful, quiet ocean. They don't realize the ships or the vessels are causing the big, tidal waves.
Mm-hmm.
So when they developed the concept of vessels and galley through their shaman, then they realized, the Europeans have arrived in America. So we need to be prepared for that. A door is opening in front of us right now because of disruptive technologies. We need to be prepared for that moment and be ready so everybody can have a best tomorrow. At that time, long time ago, people were confined to the earth. They couldn't. Right now, we are drinking our beers and wine in the rooftop bars, and we have people try every day, all across the skies, and we even have residential buildings in a stratosphere. But for your great grandfather, and people before him, they just unimaginable to them. But what they don't have is the knowledge of aerodynamics, gravity, and thrust. But now, another door will be open for us because we have the knowledge of quantum entanglement, superluminous speed, neutron star cylinders, and Einstein-Rosenberg bridge. What can they help us do? Just like thrust, gravity, and aerodynamics had helped the Wright brothers to invent the flight aeroplane in 1903. What does this for? Quantum entanglement, superluminous speed, neutron star cylinders, and Einstein-Rosenberg bridge help us do. I'll let you find out from my book. All in all, I need to stress that it's good for reflection because it's good to know what you've done right or wrong and go the right path you want. Okay, and even for society, for civilization, we need to have a point of reflection, especially now when the world is very chaotic and the technologies seem to develop, have a life of its own, and people are not controlling the direction they're heading. But we need a global renaissance. We really need a global renaissance that's good for everybody, not just America, but, we need a global renaissance, but it should be powered by America because America can still shoulder this responsibility and we can still be the world's number one. We can prove to the world with our American ingenuity, creativity, relentlessness, and the passion for life, the American spirit that's behind the great inventions that help propel America to the superpower extraordinary status. With that spirit, the fountain of inner strength, we will help the global renaissance to arrive and make the world much better place to achieve a best tomorrow. The main thing is what really basically what changed us in the past 300 years the most is the flight dynamics, because now we are from land crawlers, we now move to the third dimension, skyscrapers, like I'm talking to you from the rooftop of my residential building, which is 50 stories high. My great-grandfather can never envisage that people living high up in the sky. And we are traveling every day, people traveling every day in the air, higher than the birds. And the ultimate weapon, the atomic bomb, we set out, and in August 6 and 9, we throw to Nagasaki and Hiroshima. People show the power of the ultimate weapon, and then people are kept in peace because the world now, everybody is deterrent of each other. Then the world is now governed by the principle of MAD principle, which stands for mutually assured destruction. If you do something to me, I'll make sure you die too. So the world, ironically, the world has been quite peace, after World War II for so many years. Because before that, every 10 or 20 years, you expect a major world war, major conflict, major regional change. But now, majority of nations the national boundaries are solidified and only minor conflicts in small nations and small regions. And with the Human Genome Project, we feed a lot more people, the crops, and the yields with the genetic engineering, we feed a lot more people, we have more things useful, and we have much higher productivity. So all these have helped the whole humanity, and that's how we arrived at the superpower status for America. But now, if we don't do something, we might be, we might lose it, the leadership. And that's why in my book, I propose the things that to revitalize America and the world through a global Renaissance movement spearheaded by the U.S.A.
Mm-hmm. People, I'm telling you, listen, I hope you have your notebooks out, man, because the education is surreal, okay? Again, we're here on the line with Elvis Newman. We're discussing his amazing book, U.S.A. is Still the World's #1. Now, Elvis, as we start to tie out of this fantastic interview, man, I want to go into a little bit more of elaboration with one of those subtitles that you talked about. Now, of course, Icarus, I am a huge Greek mythology fan. I've been obsessed with Greek mythology going back to probably junior high school, right? So I am very, very familiar of his story and the message of hubris that is kind of meant to be gleaned from that and all that. So that, to me personally, I'm kind of like, yeah, that would be something that I would want to go into more of elaboration with, but this is not about me, right? I think what would probably be a more intriguing topic for a wider audience base would be your description of disruptive technologies. Now, I think I could assume what you're talking about when you're bringing up disruptive technologies, but you know what happens when you assume, Elvis, so I'm not going to do that to you. Talk to us and give us a little bit more of an elaboration by what you mean when you talk about disruptive technologies.
Sometimes they are called black technologies because these technologies are not sometimes confined by the classical, physical, and theoretical principles. It's like you have 1 + 1 = 2, that's the mathematics. But in, like, let's say quantum entanglement, you can exist at both places. That's weird, right? Or, the particle is both a wave and a particle. That's kind of weird too, okay? Mm-hmm. Or the Schrodinger's cat, okay? Is it dead or is it alive? Okay, so disruptive technologies are things that doesn't follow the normal way, but they exist. They exist, and it can be proven. And we should try to look into that, because just like before, people don't believe in negative numbers. But negative numbers, you would say, if you just count things, 1 apple, 2 oranges, 3 mangoes, why would there be a negative number? But now we know the existence of negative numbers, and it's good, it's valid. And we might have antimatter, we might have anti-planet, something like that. So disruptive technologies are things that we should look into. But on the fringe technology between disruptive technologies and the classical technologies are things that are really useful. The fringe technologies over there. And for Icarus, people, the Icarus, I want to mention, if you go back to the Wright brothers, okay, in 1903, they developed the aeroplane, mm-hmm. okay, in 1903, and it was only working for like maybe 10, they can only fly a short distance, very short distance. Well, if you go back before 1903, let's say you go back to 1902 and tell them, the Wright brothers, you can, really develop, airplane, and you can even house hundreds of people in one airplane, and you can eat, drink, airplane. They probably won't believe what you have to say, And then if you go back to some, uneducated villagers, okay, and tell them, the only difference why you can fly is because you couldn't. The way to fly is to wrap you up in tons of metal and traveling at very high speed, or how many miles per hour, and then you can get to one destination to another. And those uneducated villagers would say, well, it's not possible to go faster than the sound barrier, because the biological being the bones and the skin will be torn apart. And if you wrap yourself in tons of metal, and you won't fly in the air, you will fall to the ground and you become a meatball. You know? Mm-hmm. So I mean, we conquer all that. You know, it seems ridiculous to them. The idea is ridiculous to them. You know, but right now we have to be more open-minded, and if you want to be ready step into the door, the new door that's open for us in the new world, you have to be open-minded and not just like the uneducated villagers about flying, or the Wright brothers or anybody before 1903.
You know, moving right along here, Elvis, who would you say is your intended audience with this book?
My intended audience is everyone who wants to have a best tomorrow. They are sick and tired of a better tomorrow. They want a best tomorrow. But we need to put a cohesive effort into making that possible. Okay, it can be anyone. The lost tribes of Amazon forest, they need to catch up to modernity, to modern society. They can be kids who are dreaming to invent flying cars. Then they can choose a new field when they go to college. There can be people who are withdrawn into virtual reality. They live daily in virtual reality. They can now come out of virtual reality and live in a world which is better, best for them. Or people who are withdrawn to narcotics, alcoholics. It can be people who are leaders in the community who want to aspire their followers with the best tomorrow. They can be corporate CEOs or the C-suite executives who can lead the company to a best tomorrow. They can be the United States government. They can be the White House staff. They can be President Biden or the next president or whoever is the U.S., whoever the next president is. So they can implement the policy and really make America the strongest nation in the world and bring about new renaissance for the new millennium, renaissance to the world.
Last question for you here, man. Curiosity for myself, what would you say was the hardest part about writing this book?
The hardest part of writing this book is try to understand the most difficult mathematical equation, denoting the latest theoretical scientific concepts that I call the disruptive technologies that we can use and we can choose for use in the new Manhattan Project that I recommended, the new Manhattan Project of 2022. And it helps me to feel a sense of triumph and satisfaction that I can work for the world, something useful, and I have some inheritance for posterity. And it's also our legacy for posterity if we help them to choose the right path.
Fantastic. People, listen, if this interview hasn't moved you, pinch yourself. I don't know what's going on. All right, I'm going to say it again. I know I don't have to. But we're here on the line with Elvis Newman. We just finished discussing his amazing book, U.S.A. is still the world's #1, available for purchase through his site, elvisnewman.com. Head on over there today, pick up your copies, check back into his personal site frequently to get more information on other things that he has going on. I promise you, you will not be disappointed. The education is real. This book is a fantastic resource to add to your shelf, an even better gift to add to someone else's. Head on over there today and pick up your copies. Elvis, this has been an absolute pleasure, man. Such an honor. I truly mean that. Thank you once again for being a guest on People of Distinction.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. You seem very pretty interested in what I have to say, and I really feel happy and really feel enjoyable in trying to say what I have my message. So it really made me feel happy in delivering my message, and I thank you for your support and encouragement along the way.